Hi, I'm Chris Bergwald.
And I'm Renee Leach.
And this is the third in our series of follow-up videos to the Day of Reflection that we offered earlier this year. Come hear the story, getting more out of the Mass. So Renee, we talked in the first video about why this is an interesting or fascinating topic for both of us. We talked in the last video a little bit, you asked me a question that apparently I didn't answer well on what does sacrifice mean. We talked about something else too, but we wanted to, in this video, let's focus a little bit, sort of recapping some of the most significant points from that day of reflection, just as a reminder. So those who were there can maybe get a refresher on the most significant parts of what we talked about that day.
So what would you say were the most significant parts of that day?
See what she did there? So for me, you focused in your first talk on the covenants and the Mosaic covenant in particular. And that idea of the covenants, I know in your own life, your own study, other things that you're doing for God and His kingdom has been really something that's really struck you over the last several months. And just for me, as you have been, I don't know, gotten excited about that, it's re-excited me. It's drawn me back to that. I had the privilege of taking some classes with Scott Hahn, the Catholic theologian, writer, speaker, author, which means the same thing as writer. And this is a big part of what's brought Scott into the Catholic Church as a convert, as he says, would often say, from an anti-Catholic to a Catholic and a theologian. And that idea of the covenant that God, and you talked about this in the last video about why all of this strikes you so much and what it means to you. But the idea of the covenant as God covenanting Himself, giving Himself to humanity, to the people of Israel first, but then through Jesus, God desires to enter into a relationship with every. And the thing that strikes me about that, and this is something that I really didn't get to touch on a lot, or really at all, on that day, right now, every moment, God is thinking of and holding you and me and everything around us in existence.
Yes.
If God could forget, if He stopped thinking about me, if He could forget,
you'd cease to exist.
It would cease to exist. So that's the case for this Bible, which is the Bible. But it's the case for the chairs we're sitting, everything. God is already thinking of you and me in maintaining us in existence. That's not enough for Him, though. He also wants to draw us into relationship with Him. And that's what the entire history of the Bible, that's what all of salvation history is about, is God expanding the covenant community. Starting with Adam and Eve, a couple, and then with Noah, family, and then with Abraham, a tribe. Thanks for the save there. What is it again? Then with Moses, the people of Israel, and then with Jesus, the entire world. And He's a good teacher, right? I mean, he doesn't throw it all at us at once. He progressively makes humanity ready for it.
But He progressively, what's interesting to me, especially about the Mosaic covenant, is He progressively got more intentional about what He was doing. I mean, He pulled the Israelites out of Egypt in a very profound way that could not be denied.
Right.
And He gave 9 chances to that Pharaoh to say, just let them go, they're my people. 9 chances. And in a very profound way, made it known that these were God's people.
A very visible and public way. God didn't reveal Himself to the people of Israel in a book or as an idea. Right. Moses wasn't a philosopher. He was a shepherd. That's when God called him, watching over the flocks of his father-in-law Jethro. And so God saved His people in a very powerful, real way. They encountered Him in this powerful act of salvation, and then He revealed His word to them.
And it wasn't just 10 or 20 people. There's estimated 600,000 people
left
Egypt with Moses.
Right. Why does that Why is that so important to you?
Because it wasn't a small endeavor. I mean, when you think about what God asked Moses to accomplish, Moses stuttered for one thing. He didn't speak.
He wasn't
well.
Charlton Heston.
No, it wasn't Charlton Heston. And these 600,000 people were in Egypt, and they were the slave labor. They were the workforce of building this city for the Pharaoh. And God asked Moses to go in and say, these are my people, and if you don't let my people go, I'm going to kill your firstborn son.
Right.
So he took a man who was 80 years old, had a stuttering problem, who was wanted for murder in Egypt, and told him to go back and threaten Pharaoh.
Right.
And take his entire workforce.
Right. So he did.
And he did.
Yeah. Moses' obedience. Now God had to. Which is the same way with you and I, right? I mean, we sometimes we know God's will for us and we resist it, and yet, again, as we've talked about previously, God is very insistent and persistent with us.
Well, I wonder if we're obedient in the little things, what would we be capable of in our obedience to God in the big things?
It's a great way to end this video.